name's David Boyle and I'm quitting alcohol. So I can't just keep doing an episode every single time Donald Trump says and does something fucking insane. Otherwise, this podcast will turn into I'm reviewing the president. But the shit that happened today on camera between Donald Trump, Zelensky, JD Vance, that whole clown show today was so fucking insane and incredible that I have to talk about it. I've never seen anything like that before in my entire life. For starters, the optics of that whole thing was not good for anyone. Not Trump or Vance or fucking Rubio, who was just sitting there with his mouth shut, or Zelensky, or the fucking interviewers, or the free world. It was not good. Like, on first glance, it just looked like a bunch of bullies picking on a very tiny Jewish man. Why isn't anyone calling them anti-Semites? Probably because they pull the chair out for Netanyahu whenever he turns up. Standing round of applause. Mr. Netanyahu, please take a seat. I'll pull it out for you, sir. That's why no one's been called an anti-Semite picking on this small little Jewish man, Zelensky. So for starters, it just looked like a bunch of high school bullies picking on a little dude, and the little dude wasn't really helping himself either. I understand where Zelensky's coming from as well. Zelensky, you got to understand, Zelensky is a US puppet, and he's fighting, was fighting, Ukraine was fighting, or is technically, I don't know if they still are. They're fighting a proxy war for the US, funded by the US, with US arsenal equipment, ammo, weapons, against Russia, who have been provoked into it, more or less. So everything was going all right for Zelensky, even though they were losing the war, hardcore. But everything was going all right for Zelensky as long as the funding was coming in. And Biden, with whatever dodgy connections he had with Ukraine, was happy to send billions and billions of dollars of weapons and support to the Ukraine. Now Trump's in, and Trump's like, no, we're not doing that. Not only are we not doing that, we want some payments for the billions of dollars we sent over to you, which is, I don't think that was part of the original deal. And they're like, well, as payment, what we'll do is we'll take all the rights to all your rare earth minerals you have in Ukraine, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna hand them over to us, and we're going to mine them there. And this was the deal that was meant to go down. Ukraine, Zelensky, was meant to sell the rights to these rare earth minerals. He was just there to sign it off. The deal had already been done. And the unspoken thing was that when the US takes over these rare earth fucking mines or whatever, they need to protect their assets, which means US protection of these particular sites, which in turn means US troops, or at least minimum US contractors like Blackwater, military contractors on the ground in the UK. And Trump has been speaking to Putin. So they've worked out some sort of deal, unless they haven't. But they must have worked out some sort of deal with Putin where Putin's agreed to let them take over the rare earth minerals in the Ukraine, but they're not allowed to have military contractors or no military people in the Ukraine. And so Zelensky has caught on to this, and he's like, I'm not signing it over unless you can guarantee Ukraine's protection. And they're going like, shut the fuck up, Zelensky. You're saying the part that isn't meant to be said. Yes, once we get in there, we're going to protect our assets. Shut the fuck up and sign the assets over to us. It's so fucking wild. It's so wild. And then they had a big argument about the whole thing. And I just don't see a world where the US takes over these rare earth minerals, puts troops on the ground to protect the assets, and Putin's okay with it. Unless they've had some full-on backroom deals between Trump and Putin. But Zelensky has completely fucking backed himself into a corner. So Putin and Zelensky were at the table, I think it was in 2021 or something like that. They were negotiating a peace deal, and then Boris Johnson comes over, flies over, says to Zelensky, don't sign anything. There's no peace. We're going to help you. We're going to fund the war. So Zelensky pulls out, and Ukraine fights this war, which is just a proxy war. Obviously, England were involved. US were involved. So Zelensky has basically sacrificed a good chunk, like 1 million Ukrainians, to fight this war with the expectation the US is going to have their back the whole way. Now, not only have the Ukraine been completely fucking devastated, destroyed, they can't even continue the war unless the US continue funding it. And instead of funding it, what they want to do is take all the valuable minerals they have and rare earth they have and give it to US corporations. So that is the alliance they've built. You fight our proxy war, you lose it, and then we're going to come in and take all your fucking resources anyway. That's what you get for trying to partner with the US. I'll give you an example of exactly what this means in Australian terms. It would be the same as Australia and Australians fighting a proxy war against China, backed by the US. We lose 500,000 people in this war. Then the US turn around and go, well, we supported you for this war. We poured like $300 billion into it. Now, as repayment, we want to take all the iron ore and natural gas from your country and we want to hand it over to US corporations. How do you feel about that, Australia? It's fucking wild. It's wild. Here's a prediction. I'm going to make a prediction. Zelensky will not be the president of the Ukraine by the end of the month. There's 3 things that are going to happen. He either signs the deal immediately, like in the next 2 days, or he is removed from government, from president, by a internal coup in Ukraine because he's not popular in Ukraine, or he is just assassinated. They're the 3 options. It's crazy. I've never seen like just straight up like it that's what they do behind closed doors, and they brought it to the public. You always think these heads of states in the back rooms are having like these sophisticated debates and arguments and negotiations, and then it's really just like schoolyard kids bullying each other, and usually the biggest bully wins. And that's what it looks like's going on here. I just want to know, because Trump was really praising Putin quite a lot. He was really realigning with Putin, which is an interesting move. And I've been listening to Putin fucking interviews Go check it out. Mike Rossi, I've talked about it before. Putin said he is happy to work with the US on the Russians' rare earth deposits. He's like, we're happy to work with the US and US corporations because it's big investments need to be made to extract these earths, these rare earths. But Russia has more rare earth than all of Ukraine. And he's like, we're happy to work with the Americans with this. That was said by Putin. Go to Mike Rossi, Pulsci, and listen to the interview. It was either 4 days ago or 8 days ago. He's done 2 recent ones. Anyway, it's wild times. It's real wild times. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Anyway, fucking that'll do it for tonight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see ya the fuck later.